Hello everyone and welcome back to this Football Manager experiment where we take a look at what would happen if the top 5 leagues in Europe were all given transfer bans. Now last time we went forward 3 years in time. Today we're going to go 4 more years in time for a total of 7 years into this transfer ban. It's worth remembering we did also put a ban on the 3 Portuguese leagues, so we'll have a look at the Portuguese league today as well, and then we'll take a look at the Champions League and all of the cup competitions. We might even take a look at some of the academies as well if we have time. Now in the Premier League, when we left off last time, Arsenal had been crowned champions. Brighton, QPR and Sunderland all got relegated. Manchester City finished down in 8th place. The following year, Manchester United became the champions. Liverpool, Arsenal and Spurs all in the top 4. City and Chelsea taking their place in Europe as well. Newcastle in 8th. A bit of a disappointment there, given that they can spend money. No other really major shocks in there, given that's 4 years into this transfer ban. Not a lot has changed there. The following year, though, Liverpool won the title, 6 goals clear of Manchester United. Newcastle back up to 6th. City slipping down to 7th place. The following year, we can see Newcastle made it into the Champions League. Chelsea, the eventual champions, finishing 7 points clear of Manchester United. Wolves also finishing up in 9th place. Manchester City falling down to 11th place is quite a shock there. And then the last season just gone, you can see that Spurs won the title, 2 points clear of Arsenal. Newcastle in 3rd place, just 7 points off the title now. United, Liverpool and Chelsea all up there. City down in 9th place. Wolves finishing 7th. So some of these, and Brighton finishing 8th. So some of these former Championship teams really starting to take their position in the league. QPR and Huddersfield up there, joining them as well. Now if we have a look at the transfer screen, we can see that Riyad Mahrez moved to China for £35.5 million. Newcastle picked up Benteke, Shane Duffy, Diogo Jota, Moussa Dembele from Celtic is quite a big one. Wolves spending the cash as well. Norwich appearing with a bit of a transfer outlay, but not a huge one really. Very small change in the grand scheme of things. The following year, Newcastle picking up Shea Ojo, which is a good investment. QPR taking another one from Liverpool. Newcastle also picking up Alex Murray. What a signing that is for Newcastle. Mangala moving to China. Wolves picking up a few players as well. Reading also signing Jordan Much. So some of these Championship teams are really starting to appear on here. Celtic still picking up players. The following year, Yilmaz signed by Newcastle for £24.5 million, picking up a few players from abroad there. Brighton appearing and spending a lot of cash as well. Otherwise, not too many transfers, not any major shocks. Still the big clubs hang on to their big players. And then in the season just gone, you can see Newcastle spending £23.5 million again, really investing in their squad. Huddersfield picking up Will Hughes is a good transfer. Jesse Lingard has gone to QPR. United losing one of their younger players. But again, just the Championship teams or former Championship teams picking up the players. Reece Nelson's a good signing for Barnsley from Arsenal. Surprised that the big clubs are letting some of these younger players go. They should really be playing them more often, giving that chance to develop and really become first team players. You can see in the Premier League that it is starting to shift around a little bit. The Premier League is now the top division in Europe. Newcastle doing very well putting their squad together. If we take a look at their senior squad with the signings they've made and order it by value, you can see they've got Thiago Maia in there as well. I don't remember seeing them pick him up. If we look at his career stats, they signed him a few years ago on a free, which is maybe why I wouldn't have noticed that. They've got Grotzka as well, Yilmaz in there, the defender. Keita Balde. That's the thing, they're going to be able to pick these players up on a free. They've got Mauro Icardi in there alongside Berardi up front, another player snapped up on a free transfer. That is where the real transfers are being made. That is a very, very strong Newcastle side. They are going to do very well going forward. It's worth taking a look at the Wolves squad as well, because they have done reasonably well in the league recently. They're quite rich as well. They've got Sandro in there, worth £38 million. Must have been picked up on a free. He looks incredible. Signed from Malaga. Moore in there, Marchetti in there, Ryan Gould in there, Jordan Pickford. Wolves really putting together a very good squad now. And if we take a look at Manchester City, whose squad have really struggled because they do have a bit of an older team. You can see they're now managed by Conte. If we look at their senior squad, there's not a huge amount of value left in it. They've got Sane and Jesus, Iheanacho in there, John Stones, Sterling still there, but they're relying on the likes of Patrick Roberts now. Kevin De Bruyne, 31, not going to be around forever. Neither will Gundogan. So they are increasingly having to rely on their academy products to really come up and support the team. Manchester United, let's have a quick look at their players as well. You can see with them, they do have the likes of Martial, Rashford, Pogba, Luke Shaw, Fosu Mensah. I think Manchester United are going to do very well for quite some time. They are relying on some of their older and also academy players a bit too much, but they do still have these world-class players that they can hang on to. I mean, Paul Pogba, still at the club, still being paid a fortune, 3 years left on his contract, but he's now 30 years old. But Martial still there, he will be a big signing, and Rashford at 25 is going to be around for quite some time. So you can see the effect that this is having on the Premier League now. West Ham right down there as well. And if we drop down to the Championship and just look at the makeup of this league, you can see Sheffield United beat Reading to win the title, but West Brom champions. But there's a few clubs down here like Sunderland sitting in mid-table, Bristol, Birmingham, Millwall all going down, Middlesbrough down there as well. They're still going to be stuck with that embargo, and they could slip further and further down the leagues. It could get very dangerous for some of those Premier League teams. Now, if we have a look at the Spanish First Division and try and do this reasonably quickly, given we've got 5 leagues to go through and the European competitions. The season we left off, Atletico Madrid were champions. The following year, Real Madrid took the title 8 points clear of them. Then it was Atletico Madrid 7 points clear of Barcelona. The following year, Barcelona won the title 8 points clear, still the big three in the Spanish League. Bilbao managing to take third place in the most recent season, but still the big clubs absolutely dominating that league, and they will do for a little time to come, I think. I can see Barcelona doing very well out of all of this. Meaningful transfers, not an awful lot. Thomas Partey leaving Atletico Madrid. The following year, Moi Gomez going to Brighton. But not a lot of big movements, certainly no impactful signings. Bakambu leaving Villarreal for quite a bit of money going to China, and Sergio Gomez going for about £15 million to China as well. So not a huge amount of surprise in those movements. If we take a look at the German League, currently sitting in third place, still the big 5 leagues hold the big 5 positions, which is a little bit to be expected actually this early on in the experiment. But if we have a look at the German League, you can see Bayern won the title the last time we looked. They won it again by 1 point the following year, and then again 10 points clear the next year, still 4 points clear the following year, and then again 7 points clear of Leverkusen. But no major shake-ups. I mean, Wolfsburg climbing back up the league table somewhat, but not a huge amount of surprise in there. The Munich Lions doing reasonably well as a newly promoted team, but not a huge amount of change in the German League, which is a little bit surprising. I think if we have a look at the transfers, you can see there's just not a lot going on in the transfers. Douglas Santos leaving was a big one. Eric Durm leaving. Kevin Campbell leaving for China. But yeah, not a huge amount of movement in the German leagues. In Serie A, what have we got going on here? This is one of the more competitive leagues, I think, given the number of decent teams that they have. Last time out, Juventus won the title. Inter won it the next year. Juventus dropping down to 4th place. The year after that, Inter won it again. Juventus again in 4th place. And then Napoli won it. Juventus down to 5th place. Roma won it. Juventus did finish 2nd. So Juventus have fallen from grace. Bologna now up in 3rd place, doing very well. Sassuolo in 7th. Other big teams still in and around the right positions. There's not been any major surprises of teams going down or anything like that. On the transfer side of things, you can see if we go forward, Inter signing a player from Atlanta somehow, and then it is mostly just the smaller clubs picking up players. Lamina leaving Juventus for Guangzhou for £27 million. Again, no big transfers, and Babacar leaving for Shangang from Fiorentina. They lost a couple of very good players there, Fiorentina, and they will struggle after doing that. Finally, let's have a look at Liga, or not finally, because we'll take a look at the Portuguese League as well. I expect that the big teams are still going to be absolutely dominating this. last time we looked, Monaco won the league. They won it again the year after. They won it the year after that with 104 points. That is domination. They won it after that, and they won it again. As I said in the last part, Monaco absolutely going to dominate this game at the moment because they have so many young wonder kids. If we look at their squad and their senior squad of players, you see Thomas Lemar still there, only 27, £53 million valuation. Bernardo Silva there, Mbappe there, Fabinho there, Bakayoko there. They've still got a lot of very good players at a very good age, and they are going to dominate European football, certainly in the short term, with players like that. Now, in the Portuguese league, we only gave the three big teams a transfer embargo. You can still, in the first season, they still finished well clear at the top, and in the second, and in the third, and then in the fourth, they were still 8 points clear of the rest, before finally Braga managed to come up, Porto finishing down in 5th place, and then the following year, Braga won the title, 6 points clear of Porto and Sporting and Benfica, and then Braga won it again. Braga look like the big team now in Portugal, winning the title. They're going to be spending money. They could be a force alongside Newcastle in Europe as this save goes on, because they are the two big teams that can really spend cash in this experiment at this point. There's not really any other big teams around, so it's going to be quite interesting how they do in Europe. By the way, let's have a look at those European competitions. Now, starting with the Europa League, you can see Newcastle made the quarterfinals. Added Vigo, Leipzig also in there, but it was Shakhtar, Leipzig, Spurs and Sevilla that made it to the semis. Leipzig and Spurs in the final, and it was won by Spurs, the second time that they've won that competition. The following year, City in there, Juve in there, Monaco in there, Leipzig in there again, but Anderlecht, the Belgian team, should be doing very well as this moves forward. In the semi-finals, it was Monaco and Juve in the final, and Monaco won the Europa League, a fall from grace for those teams really. And then in the 21-22 season, Anderlecht made the semis. Dinamo in there from Croatia. They are going to do very well as we go forward. A bit of a surprising semi-final. It's Anderlecht and Napoli who made the final, and it was won by Napoli. Heartbreak for the Belgian teams there, unable to win the Europa League. And the season gone, Arsenal were in there, Dortmund, Milan, Spurs, a very familiar sort of finish here. Spurs and Arsenal in the final. A North London derby won by Arsenal to take the Europa League. Now in the Champions League quarterfinal, you can see Bilbao made the quarterfinals. Liverpool in there as well, alongside Leverkusen, Barcelona and Real Madrid. Leverkusen actually made the final against Real Madrid, a replay of the 2003 final, which was won by Real Madrid then, and it was won by Real Madrid again this time. The following year, Bayern, Real Madrid, Spurs, Liverpool all getting through. Still a familiar lineup in the quarterfinals there. Bayern and Real Madrid in the final, won by Real Madrid again, still dominating in Europe. But then this season, last season, it was Sporting, Bayern, Barcelona and Monaco in the semis. In the semi-finals, Sporting actually made the final, beating Bayern Munich. Barcelona in there as well. And in the final, Barcelona predictably get the win. And then this season, Braga making the quarterfinals, Newcastle making the quarterfinals. I told you they were going to dominate in Europe going forward. I can see those two teams really going at it in the future. Maybe Anderlecht could be in that group as well. But Manchester United and Bayern going through, Madrid going through, Monaco going through. In the semis, Bayern and Manchester United, and it was won by Bayern Munich, getting revenge on United for that 99 final and winning the Champions League. So you can see that certainly this season, in that quarterfinal stage, the two teams that I pointed out, Braga and Newcastle, making their way to the latter stages. Anderlecht making the final of Europa League as well is very encouraging to see. And I could see those teams really dominating as they get to sign players and pick up regens going forward when no other team can. They are going to be in such a strong position. So I'm quite excited. Now we're getting to that point where the big teams are having players retire. Quite excited to see where this goes. I think it's going to be a lot of fun going forward. I think next time I'm going to go forward 5 years, because that will be the tipping point of all the big leagues having their big players retire, and we will see squads made up almost entirely of regens, because we'll be what will we be? We'll be 12 years in the future by that point, so there could be squads made up entirely of regens, and hopefully Newcastle will have a Champions League title under their belt by then. But that's going to be it for this part of the experiment. Drop a like on the video if you are enjoying it. Remember to let me know in the comments if there's things that you want to see, or if you've got ideas for how far in the future we should go. Let me know any of your thoughts on this experiment. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. But until next time, see ya!